is live streaming on Facebook. Thank you so much. Thank you for your patience. Facebook family, I'd like to apologize for the delay in all of that. I was just giving the announcements quickly. I just want to go back to just where we are. We are on these socials right there. Please do note that the month of March is a month for women's issues. So we're talking about everything to do with women's issues. February was all about men, and you can check out all those particular presentations on our YouTube channel, which is 230 Conversations SDA. Now, this particular March we talked about, and that was, I think, last week, it was about patriarchy, angry black female. That was what was talked about last week. And this particular week, we've got Sister Refiole with us here, talking about a very critical, very important message: blended families, a woman's perspective. Can't wait to hear all about this one. Next week, now we're still struggling with our speaker and getting to the pictures and everything, but she's already agreed. It's a very interesting topic: side chicks, the rise of the other woman. That's what we're going to talk about next week. Believe it or not, it's a church platform, and we're talking about side chicks, the rise of the other woman. Then on the last Sabbath of March, we are talking about the alpha female modernism with Utinashe Tanga taking us through on that particular topic. The month of April, just so that I can get you guys know, is all about the religion amongst us. That's the theme, the religion amongst us. We're going to be talking about everything to do with religion and politics, religion and racism, the relevance of religion amongst us, and all those kind of interesting topics. Please do check our socials. We should be able to upload the speakers by the end of the week, God willing. Now, if you do want to come into the platform, invite someone into the platform, you're welcome. We do give airtime. So we do give airtime. Unfortunately, we only cater for the South African audience. So please do contact me. Those are my numbers on the screen, or you can contact Ashley. We will buy you airtime enough for you to enter into the platform and watch. You can invite as many friends as possible. We do not mind. We also want to thank the Northern Conference for the sponsorship, but also we're saying if you do want to contribute into the airtime fund, again, you can contact me on these numbers, or Ashley will be able to pull through on that one. Now that has been said, Refiole is ready, and I'm going to give her the opportunity. She's going to teach us blended families. Now unmute yourself, maybe say something, Refiole, right there. Let's see. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear. I think we're good to go. God bless you as you take us through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mute myself, deactivate my video, and spotlight you. You need anything, I'm right there next to you. God bless you. Amen.
Thank you. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for taking your time out to be part of this conversation. So I have structured my talk in a conversational type of way. Okay, so I'm going to start by just maybe laying a foundation as to what blended families are. What they are defined to be, or what they're commonly known as. So the simple definition of a blended family, which is also sometimes called a step family, is a reconstituted family or a complex family where one or both parents have children from a previous relationship. But now they have combined or come together to form a new family. A step family is also defined the same, so these words or labels are used interchangeably. So I'll give you as well the origin of a blended family. The concept blended step family has been around for centuries. Many blended families, of course, when I did a little bit of digging, were not recognized until the two parents married and agreed to care for the children together, even if the parent was not biologically related. Okay, so now with that, I just want to say, while I appreciate the fact that blended families are different, and there are different types. There are types where both parents come in with children. I will only be discussing one type. I know there are multidimensional complexities and intricacies, but I'll discuss only the type of blended that I have experienced, but in no ways be limited in your comments and sharing of your thoughts about the different types of blended that you have seen or might be experiencing as well. Okay, so before I go into it, I just want to share my background. So I went into my marriage, or I'm the blended in my family. I came in with 2 daughters. My husband has no children. So that's my background there. Okay, so in my short journey, just to also give you a little bit more, I am 11 months married now, but I am 4 years blended. So this is going to be my departure point. I'm going to make this as realistic as possible to myself, and hopefully to you as well. Okay, so I thought, in starting this conversation, I can't dismiss the truth that, one of the dynamics about being in a blended family is that the foundation, is you can't dismiss the fact that you were either with a woman or a man who betrayed your trust in one way or another, that then led to that relationship ending. The ending could have been amicable, or, as is often the case, emotionally scarring, leading to a subconscious foundation of this new relationship being fear, emotional detachment, or sometimes even maybe trauma, right? The other dynamic is the involvement of the biological parent, healing for the parent and the child. And when you are consumed, as I've seen in my experience, with your own feelings, well, you're consumed. And that makes it hard for you to emotionally avail yourself to facilitate the healing of your children. Children, I have learned, need closure. They need support in support that is consistent, because they feel, but they don't always know how to put in words what they feel. This can look like very many different kinds of things. This is a different dynamic as well. And I've also seen that not coming from a background that openly discusses the elements of having a blended family, acknowledging that, in my case especially, and in the circles that I have these conversations in, some of our parents, hide being blended in instances where it was the case. And this then leads to a passing on of shame. This in effect can cause for you, as the blended in the family, to have to first deal with the shame before you can fully show up for what it even means to be a blended family. And I believe that they hid it because they wanted to live up to the ideal of a nuclear family. This also needs to be addressed, where applicable, of course. The mourning of an unfulfilled dream. So you don't project resentment towards those who have this type of family. This family is good, not saying that blended family are not, but it is an ideal that is presented before us, before sin really came into the world. One woman, one man, they have children together and they grow as such. But then discussing the dynamic of having a blended family, I've learned it's important to recognize that this may not be what you wanted for yourself from the very beginning. So then you accept your truth and your reality and open yourself to experiencing your life as what it is now, believing that God is. Then more learnings and more dynamics. This one I found to be very interesting and very potent for everyone that might find themselves in a blended dynamic. Accepting the truth that your partner got attracted to you alone. That process did not involve your children, and that can sometimes be hard. Yes, your children are an extension of yourself. So you have a propensity to loving them. They're an extension of his life until he makes that decision. And that needs to be a conscious decision. And like with every decision, it can take a bit of time. So allowing that process to play itself out can be painful. It can feel like you are gambling with your children's hearts. In the same way that he got to know you, you must allow yourself to develop, for him to develop a keen interest to get to know them. And also just to have an openness that after that presentation of who he is, him understanding what they like and what they don't like, they can still decide that they don't like him. Because for them, it's not at the same level that it's at for you. They're not looking for a romantic interest. They're looking for a dependable adult that can give them stability and security. And you guys being at those differing levels looks like the relationship forming at different, not speeds, but at different levels, the pace will be different. Okay. And another dynamic I have experienced as a woman, and I think here I want to first also on my background just add the fact that it really matters here, your own background, where you come from. So for me, my dad passed away when I was 14 years old, and so I was then raised by my mother. She became a single mom due to being widowed, right? So in this instance then, when it comes to discipline particularly, I've learned the importance of understanding roles, defining roles, and also the effect of limiting beliefs that exist caused by socialization, caused by conditioning, okay? So I want to say here that having then been raised by just my mom, I'm constantly having to acknowledge what that means for me. And what that means is that I consider my voice to be more important and more deserving of being heard than my partner's. Definitely not something that is great. It can cause a lot of difficulty, but what I'm raising here is the importance of self-awareness, right? The reason why this I noticed is a thing that I have in my head was because that's the only voice I heard for a very long time. So after my dad died, I was then raised by my mother, and she was the look of authority that was there. And then this also informed my parenting method by default, because when you become a parent, you have to teach yourself and consciously choose the culture that you want to have in your home. If this is not done consciously, your default is the same way that you were then parented. So if you were parented like myself in an environment where there was no male, then you don't really appreciate or even understand the role of a male. So here, my learning is that in a blended family, children's behavior towards the new parent is largely influenced by your own as the bio parent. And here as well, in my learning and research and reading, I've learned that the stronger the marriage unit, the stronger the whole family can be. So how you relate then to your partner will set precedents and set a strong foundation to how your children also then relate to him. Okay. Okay, and then another dynamic I've learned here is the importance of giving space for the development of their own relationship outside of you. So even though in our society, we acknowledge families where there's a man and a woman, right? But definitely families are vast. Sometimes there's just the mother, sometimes it's just the father. Sometimes also it's, children that are raised by their grandparents, right? So a family, really, the true definition is people who live together, who are grouped together. Yes, sometimes there's biological relation, but sometimes there isn't. So at on this point of giving space to develop their own relationship, I want to say that there is a natural inclination to be protective of the family, as it were, before the addition of the new parent. So it's important to acknowledge that you are coming in and he's coming into a new family, but also you are forming a new family and you are already a family. Okay, so you need to give space for them to develop their own relationship. You will have an inclination to interpret these expressions to ensure that, you know, there's a safe landing. This only prolongs them being able to form their own relationship because, well, you know, you're always there making yourself a part of it. Even though it's well intended, this will have somewhat of a damaging effect. Here really is the learning, and you know, I'm still allowing myself to learn this, that you need to trust the love that won you over. Trust the process of love. Yes, trust it, you know, that it can thrive outside of your presence. Okay. Okay, there are a lot of dynamics to discuss under this subject. Another one I'm learning is that how we blend within, that means myself, the additional parent, and the children, will then teach those without how to relate to you and your family. So a big one also here is to understand that there might not be any equality in terms of the role you play when it comes to parenting. Here, you are in a relationship with your children because you gave birth to them. They, blended dad and children, are in relationship because of your marriage. So the link here is yourself, the bio parent. Accepting that is very important and not expecting anything contrary to that truth. And I'm sharing this because one of my struggles is that, and early on, I think I'm getting better at it, but early on, I realized that sometimes, you know, when my husband would not know how to deal with a particular subject, he would then come to me to ask me, you know, how to deal with it. And I would sometimes just feel like, but how do I know? You know, how do I know? Why don't you research? Why don't you read a book and find out some of these other things? Because as much as I have experience in parenting, but I don't have experience in being blended. However, the understanding of the fact that you are the link in a setting where you are the bio parent and the new parent is coming in, will help in dealing with those situations. You know, you will be more accepting of the responsibility that comes with the fact that you are the linking parent. And that just then, you know, allows for better getting along between yourself and your partner. And another dynamic from what I have experienced is dealing with a new addition in the family. So my husband and I have since then had our own child, you know, and in the reading that I have done, there was one particular pastor who said, it's impossible to expect that the non-bio parent will love your children with the same intensity as, you know, you would your own bio child. And here, you know, I believe that love is different from one child to the next. And we need to train our eyes to see it. And if you see the love, if you train your eye to see it, then you'll see it. Children are different. Support looks different from child to child. I know with my own children, they have different love languages, and how they receive love is different. One likes being smothered and cuddled and caressed and following me everywhere. The other likes to be allowed to explore the environment that she's in. So similarly here, parents should be allowed to discover how they show love. The non-bio parent, the new parent, should be allowed to discover how he shows love, but also be allowed to be excited for the new milestone in his life. And just the importance of speaking the truth in the context that you're in. I think one of the things that I realized with, you know, with our parents, I'll speak about, you know, my setup particularly. My mother was also the blended in the family. She came in with her daughter, but I think my dad as well had 2 children before he met my mother. Then they had myself and my younger sister. And then, the conversation is that there's no way that the new parent will love the children that are not his children. It's not natural. It's not being done. Our ancestors could not do it, and therefore we can't expect that to be done. I think that is a very difficult truth to grapple with, and it also just it brings upon comparison, which is always unhealthy in the environment. So you want to encourage your children to know the truth, so they know that, this is not my bio dad, I do have a dad. In that way, when you speak the truth, I think we can't protect our children from the truth. If you speak the truth, then your children are able to share in the excitement that they're seeing their new parent go through. I know this is something that I saw in my home. Then my kids were able to be happy for their new dad, for my husband, in seeing him being very excited about the new addition in the family, always kissing her, always touching her, without feeling like, but this is what I want for myself, please, why am I not getting this? Is this because I'm not the bio child? So I found that speaking the truth in the environment that you're in can only empower the child. And then I'm going to pause for us to have discussion. What I want to say after I've shared some of these dynamics that I'm hoping we can talk around is the hope that we'll live by. I think first and foremost, love is a safe place of shelter. According to the Bible in 1 Corinthians 13, it never stops believing the best for others. Love never takes failure as defeat. It never gives up. And I know now we're living in a society where we definitely say loosely that love is not enough, but in the bigger and deeper context of what love is, and that love being God, then it's very believable from my perspective that nothing can conquer that. I want to refer us to a scripture in the Bible that is one of my favorite scriptures that definitely is a lighthouse for my family and I. Ephesians 1 verses 5-6. And it says, "For it was always in his perfect plan to adopt us as his delightful children through our own union with Jesus, the Anointed One, so that his tremendous love that cascades over us would glorify his grace. For the same love he has for the beloved Jesus, he has for us. And this unfolding plan brings him great pleasure." And I'm sharing this from the perspective that, in my family and I, both my husband and I, lovers of God. And to call unto him knowing that he formed us as experiential creatures. And so he then took the form of mankind, and he became the word that became flesh and dwelt amongst us, so that when we find ourselves going through situations that may seem impossible to us to solve with our own wisdom, we can relate to a God who took on human form and understands some of these concepts that we find ourselves grappling with. I appreciate that when I don't have wisdom regarding a particular subject, and this subject specifically, then I can go to a rock that is higher than myself, and God can still speak into my life, into my situation, and bring hope and light. And my other scripture that I'd like to share with you is in Galatians 2 verses 20. And it says, "My old identity has been co-crucified with Christ and no longer lives. And now the essence of this new life is no longer mine. For the Anointed One lives his life through me. We live in union as one. My new life is empowered by the faith of the Son of God, who loves me so much that he gave himself for me, dispensing his life into mine." So we live empowered by the faith that, that we have in God, and definitely depending on Him gives us the ability to sort out issues that are difficult, because I think it's also critical to note that it's not easy for us to love in general, even if the child is your biological child. There are instances where, as the bio parent, you need to unlearn certain things, and through the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, learn how to love your child, because who we are is, yes, nurture, nature, and then through being born again, who the Holy Spirit inspires us to become. But by that, I'm bringing forward that some of us come from really broken homes, and the concept of love, how it was displayed, was traumatic, because the carrier or your primary caregiver, their understanding or how they were nurtured was traumatic for them. So I'm ending off by really saying that God is the guiding light for us in this blended dynamic that my husband and I find ourselves in. And we really just believe we are going to succeed. I am very optimistic about blended families, even though the stats are stacked against blended families, but also now, because we live in such heavily stressful times, the odds are stacked against even, a man and a woman coming together just to be married who have no children. So I believe the guiding light for both these type of families is God. So I'm going to pause there and hand over to you, Mthandazeli.
Thank you, Refiole. Thank you so much for that one. Just to put the different view here. Thank you so much, everyone, for also attending, and then for what a powerful presentation you just made right now. Truths that we probably don't hear on a normal conventional church, and now we're hearing this. And such a lovely thing that you just said. So now we just want to start having our conversation. So the people that are here, if you want to ask something, comment on something, add something onto all of this, this is your opportunity to do so. So what you simply do is you lift up your hand through this platform. I'll be able to recognize you. The Facebook family, you can just write comments. I'll be able to read them. So I'll be alternating between Zoom and Facebook just to check if you guys are commenting or would love to pull through on anything. All right, let's start off with Van Heiden already there, taking us through. We're going to start off with the comments, Refiole. Let's get ready to enjoy and talk about this. Thank you for being vulnerable enough, about your story and the reality of this. And I was talking to someone right now, and when I told you about your situation, she's like, your husband is a man of God, Shem, a man of Jesus. Right? All right, let's go to Van Heiden. Let's take it up.
Hi. Okay. Speaking on the point that you raised of the difficult topic or a challenge that your husband would have, and then you'd come to ask you for advice or how to handle that challenge. In my experience, when I ask my wife for advice on something that I know she isn't superwoman to handle, it's not necessarily that I know she can do it, but I need to know her position on the matter. So if I was to chart my own path, we're probably going to clash at some point. So I would go to her so that I know where she stands. If just in case I step on her toes at some point in the future. So my telling her, my sharing with her is giving me enough info to handle any situations that may arise in the future, probably clashes with other relatives or with the people that are close to us. At least if I know we're on the same team, we we might clash with other people, but at least we should be on the same team.
All right, thank you so much, Van Hayden, for that one. At least we should be on the same team. And I think that's something that Refiole touched on about the unity that comes with blended families. And I like the fact that you brought across the idea that it's not an easy thing. And more importantly, it's not even easy just for a normal unblended family to run. What more a blended family, as it were. Got a couple of hands here. So allow me to take about 3 of them, let them flash in that order. Then I'll give you over to you to respond if ever there's any question along those lines. While you're at it, be thinking about what Ukanyisile is saying. She says, do the dynamics depend on the gender and age of the kid? Is it easier to blend with just girls or just boys, depending on what age they are as well? All right. Thank you so much. Just keep thinking about that kind of question. Boys, Sitagu, yes, and Miss D in that order. Let me give it to you. Boys, Sitagu, and Miss D. Boys, up and up. We're ready for you. Go ahead, my man.
Sure, boy. Am I audible?
Loud and clear, bro.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much for the presentation and to the presenter. My question is, I would just want to ask the presenter on his point of view. It's pretty much a practical example that I'm just trying to relate to in the Christian context of something that is practically happening, or of a blended family, of someone who is within my circle, just made as their opinion or a word of advice. So the situation, just to cut it short, is you have a blended family and you meet someone, you get married, right? And then he is a guy. Then there is the father of the child, the stepchild, who is presently involved in the life of the child. And the father insists that I want to be present in the life of my child. And then now already the father is saying, I will support my child, I will do everything that my child requires. And here, the newly married couple, the husband already feels disempowered that I'm not playing the father figure to the life of my stepchild, because the father seems to be doing everything. And I just seem to be a useless father in the scenario. And there on its own then creates a dent in the relationship that already you feel already disconnected. Now there is a child between the two newly married. And the focus then seems like the father is now only focusing on his own biological child. And already there is friction, and there's some tension of saying naturally you feel like you are less of a man. There is nothing that you can do, and you can't even say to the biological father, stop, because the rights, he is also entitled to the rights of being present in the father's. So this is just maybe the situation that was running in my mind when you were presenting this, and maybe your own opinion in such kind of situation. How do you approach it when one gets to meet a similar circumstance? Is it okay, maybe as a young man, to already avoid such situations if you want to get married in a similar circumstance? Or how do you navigate around it as a Christian when you already don't feel like a father to your child that is in your own house?
All right. Thank you so much, boys, for that one. I think Sister Refiole has noted that one. Sitagu, please come through for that. I'm giving you the opportunity. I've muted you.
Thanks, Mtai. Good afternoon, brethren.
Afternoon.
Firstly, I think Kanyisile, if I'm not mistaken, took my point, but if I may allow to expand, I'm not in that experience, but from observations, and I've heard people that are not yet married, but that want to engage in a relationship. They'll tell you, I don't want somebody who already has got a kid, because they don't want a drama from the baby mama. or a drama from the baby father. Now, I think just to expand on what the previous speaker has said. Now, the other question that I have is that, are there any advantages and disadvantages when one is getting him or herself in a blended family? And does it also depend on the age differences between the kids and the so-called parents? Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much, Tatago, for that one. It's been noted. Are there any advantages, pros and cons of the blended family scenario? What has been your experience? And your sister Refiole is going to take us through. Miss D, you're going to be the last one. Then we give over to Refiole to respond to that. Miss D, I know the other hand is interesting. Thank you so much for raising your hands. Blended families, that's all we're all about. Miss D, go ahead.
Hi everyone. Okay, so my question is on what you said about the parents loving the kids, right? Which the father probably, or the lady who's coming in to the blended family to actually join where there's kids involved will not, correct me if I'm not paraphrasing it correctly, will not or be able to love the kids that the other partner is coming with as equally as he would his own biological child. So my question there is it not possible for someone to come into a situation where there's a child already and they love them so much that it's I don't know, they love them equally, okay, not as equally, but they love them as if that child is also their biological child? Is it not possible to be able to have that capacity of love? Or is it because it's not very common for someone to walk into a situation or a marriage where the other partner comes in with kids? We are not used to it. Can we say that? But it is possible, because I'm trying to think that if then we normalize it, that I don't know, or magnify it to that extent, then if I'm going to be in such a marriage, will I not then go with the mindset that anyway, I'm not expected to love these kids as much as my own biological kids? So I just need you to help me understand, is it possible for me to love my future husband's kids, if ever I'm going to be in a blended family, and love them as my own, as if they are my kids? Or is it something that's not very common, but it's doable? I can do it.
All right, Refiole, you're up.
Okay, thank you. I'll start with yours, Ms. D. I think that I think it's very possible. In the same, and with the same breath, I want to say I personally have done away with words like equally and comparing the love that is displayed from one child to the next. I've come to appreciate the fact that because children are different, what love looks like will differ from one child to the next. So I think it's possible to love completely. Yeah, to love that child completely. It's very much possible. And then I'm going to move, and I just want to say, Mthandazeli, as well, we might have people in the audience that are in blended families, or if you're not in a blended family still, but if you can expand on some of the things that I'm sharing to answer some of the questions that are coming through, please feel free to put down on the note section, on the chat section, or also in the hands that are being raised, add to what I have said. And then, to Kanye's question, is it easy to blend, depending on, do the dynamics differ depending on gender, age of the kids? I definitely think that it does. And just to give perspective here, my kids were very young, when my husband came into the picture. But not only that, we were dealing with a dynamic where the father was not really present, and so there was very limited, conversation and wanting to be present. And so we really were just dealing with him coming into the space and finding himself as a father. But also then there isn't, the children haven't learned certain things from the other parent. They haven't been exposed so much to the other parent. So the only parent that has had much influence in this case, in my case, was myself. So I do think that it differs from blended family to the next because of these dynamics that you're bringing in. I know from conversations I've had with other people, it's definitely harder. I have a friend who came into a situation where the children were older, they were teenagers, and they were angry and they were, evidently rejecting the new parent. So the dynamics definitely differ according to age, according to even how the previous relationship ended. Were the children supported with gaining closure there? Was the healing process for the children facilitated? Were they given time to heal so that you're not introducing this new parent? And sometimes you find that the problem is not the seed, right? And by the seed, I mean, in this example, the parent. The problem is that the soil that the seed is being cast into to bear fruit is not good soil. And so no matter what he does, nothing is going to work until you have dealt with the foundation, which is, the children, and creating space for acceptance of the new parent. And then there was our brother who asked about advantages and disadvantages. And here I echo the fact that they differ from one situation to the next. I think one of the things that I appreciate about being in a blended family is seeing love as a choice coming into being. Love as a choice, it's really something that is amazing for myself to witness, as opposed to love as, natural. And I'm going to say this here, that if it's a conscious choice, then there's also conscious effort, to show that I love you, But sometimes if it's not, you can be, I don't want to use the word negligent as a bio parent, but because you believe that the link is so strong because of how you are, related to the child, this child is the fruit of your womb, literally, then you don't put so much effort. So for me, I appreciate that dynamic. So yes, definitely, sometimes there are benefits, sometimes there are disadvantages. And one of the disadvantages I must mention is the popping up as and when of the other parent, and how that can destabilize the child psychologically. Because children also, I've realized in my situation, have they naturally love the other parent. Whether they did you wrong as the mother or the father, they will love this person. They love them. And when they're not there and then you're upset, you just feel like this guy is a terrible person. So that dynamic is difficult to navigate. It is a complexity that you might always have to deal with. That's one of the disadvantages. And I think another one is that, because of course the people that we get into relationship with have different characters, and sometimes the character, as an example, maybe you are dealing perhaps with a mental health issue, right? When you separate from a person, you think, I no longer have to deal with this, you're walking away. But in the context of you sharing a child, I have learned my responsibility to understand whether I like it or I don't like it, how a person who has, for an example, bipolar operates. I have to learn, I have to understand, because this is where I am now. My decisions have brought me here. My child is involved here. I need to learn how to have a conversation with this person for myself, that you walk away, but it's not really a walking away altogether. There are still things that are, that have to do with the bio parent that you consistently have to deal with. And I think the other disadvantage would be how those things affect you emotionally, and how then that exposes or opens up your home. And by this, I mean, I know for my husband, sometimes I would have had a conversation that really just made me upset, and then I'll come home and I'll be upset. But he's now having to deal with something that he didn't do anything, but he's having to hear me out. He's having to comfort me. He's having to just be there as a husband. But I think with this one as well, it's there generally. We go and we experience life and we bring it home. And our husband being our companion, or our wives being our companion, then show up as supportively as they can. So I think I've tried there to talk about advantages and disadvantages. And I think I'd be doing wrong to not mention the fact that it's an advantage for a child to have that many people that love them. So my children have a lot of grandparents, and they receive love from different places. And I think that's one of the advantages as well, that they just have a bigger support body. If, of course, those relationships are built intentionally and they're worked on over time. And then there was another question, sorry, the bio dad coming in the new marriage, I think. There's somebody that raised that, how to deal with that if they are feeling like they are no longer, they are not seen, and, now they are faced with concentrating, I think, on their bio child than the other child. And I think of course, this is a continuous learning for myself. The importance of honest conversations, and the killer of, having silent expectations in your head that you don't express to your partner. I think also the understanding, that even though they might be the linking parent, but that does not necessarily mean they know all of the dynamics of dealing with the situation that, to the simple mind, you brought us here, so you should essentially then lead us in this situation. So there, I want to say to you, my brother, that I think have an honest conversation with your wife, and I know my husband and I were encouraged to, if, the fathers want to come into the space and say anything that they need to speak to my husband directly as opposed to myself. I don't think that works, but I do think that transparency in the communication helps, that you're establishing respectability in a sense that this is a holy union that has been blessed. I'm going into this thing with this person for the rest of their lives. And so I'm involved in co-parenting this child as well. So I want to encourage you, by virtue of your marriage, to not take your position lightly. Like, if you are now married to this person, assume your rightful position as well. Assume the rightful position. You are partnering in this. Know that this is who you are in this child's life. And when you know that, then, you do show up as such. And I think lastly, we are learning that it's important as well to get mentors in this context. Particularly, I think in general, when it comes to relationships, because how we meet, it's natural most of the time. Like, you're attracted to someone, it's natural. Then you expect that the running of the relationship as well is going to be led by how you feel, how you think. No, it doesn't work like that. We need to constantly be furnishing ourselves with information that's going to help us to have successful institutions. And by that, I mean marriage. And if it's not marriage, then, I'm talking about relationships as well, even friendships, So yes, I think that's as far as my comment goes.
All right, thank you so much, much appreciated. Thank you for the questions that keep coming through. I got one hand here, but like massive number of comments there. I want to give you time to run through some of them while I give a hand to Usi Tole to come through. And thank you for sparking so much talk about this, so much fire onto this whole thing, because I've been getting a couple of inboxes here, DMs, people asking, okay, what do we do in such a situation, blah blah blah, and I'm gonna read.
This meeting is being recorded.
I think that was
okay.
Myself. Was that me?
All right, I'll sort it out. All right, I want to stop it. All right, perfect. That's on.
The recording has stopped.
Okay, thank you. Recording has stopped. Then we'll take it up from there. Thank you for sparking such an interest and bringing the idea that it's a very much of a possibility. In part of the things that you talked about, you mentioned that we must be able to understand that the person got attracted to you first. And I've got my friends here and we're discussing what you're talking about and everything. And the key is, one of them says, okay, so how then do we navigate the space of, should I, because blended families start with blended relationships. I must have a relationship first with you before I get to marry you. Must I be coerced to love your children because I want to be with you? Is the passage to your heart via your children? Should it ever be like that? Do we have situations and people, like you say, who have gone through that? It would be nice again to hear from the audience if there are people who are on the other side of the blend, whereby you are entering into the blend. And Refiole represents the one who entered and became the blend. What about the other ones who come in? Husbands like Refiole's husband and all that. Let's have this conversation and get to know so that we can be able to live a fruitful, beautiful relationship with one another. Stole, go ahead.
Hi, Refiole, Mabure here, and thanks for inviting me to the session. I think it's amazing. I'm also blended, and in the blend, my husband is actually blended, brought in a daughter before that he had before we got married. And 3 years into the marriage, the mother died. So obviously, there is an expectation that, somebody must take over the role of the mother. And I think normally when we talk about blended families, it's almost, on the side of the stepdads and stuff like that. But I think what I wanted to highlight, what I really appreciated from what you said, was the fact that, and I think that's where you started, that when you got attracted, firstly, you got attracted to your partner, which is a very important part. And I think it's something that we do not want to forget in the process. And secondly, you also mentioned something very, very important, and that also, goes into the subconscious or the makeup of who we are. For example, I don't come from a blended family at all. So my view of a marriage, I grew up, I'm the eldest child at home, and I grew up with my mom and dad, and same as my husband. So both of us don't come from any blended environment. So I think what you touched the core of me is, how do you manage what you desired for yourself and where you find yourself now? And I'm not saying, I'm in a blended, but that's not what I desired. I made the choice, and I think it's important to also acknowledge I made the choice. So I think that is very core. It's at the core of who we are, and I'm very thankful for such conversations, because if we do not go to the core and deal with the core of who I am as an individual, it might, affect how the blended child. Because the child also did not choose to be in this kind of a situation. So that's one comment. And just on a lighter note, I want to mention that in my case, as soon as the mother died and the child had to come live with me, so you'd find that there are comments like, you guys look the same, in the family. There are people that know that, oh, you guys look the same. And the truth is, we don't look the same, So yeah, Yeah, I think that's my contribution. And yeah, thank you so much, guys, for this conversation.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
You look the same. Beautiful one. All right, let me give Zaza and Ashley, then we can keep on moving through. Been thinking about these questions, Refiole, and everybody else. Now, we're not putting you on the spotlight. Sorry for that. Let's just think about this. Here's what one person sent to me now, Uzipo, and I'm going to read off what she says. Says, hi, Mta. So me and my stepsister always wish our parents had spoken to us as well as their families on the new arrangement. My stepsister feels awkward and uncomfortable around my father's family, and I also feel awkward and uncomfortable around my stepmother's family. We've been trying to deal with the entire arrangement for years, but it's difficult to fully feel like we belong on either side. How do we deal with more family involvement in a blended situation? That's what Uzipo says. I took a comment from Facebook from Ulav Dintin, right? Lovely name. And she says, or he says, how do we deal with the ever-present possibility that no one can ever say they know another human being? How safe are girl children from their stepfathers? Yeah. How can we say it's easy for all moms with daughters to open up and trust their partners to raise their daughters in these blended families? Nazog. Yeah. Okay, let's have the hands coming up. Zaza, you're next. Ashley, after that. Zaza.
Hi guys. My network is a bit weak today, so if I'm thrown off, you just forgive me. I'll try to come back. My comment is a bit long. I'm from a blended family. My father was the first. My mother was the first wife. Then after some time, they divorced, and just before then, my father kept having kids outside marriage. So whenever the parents discovered, or the wives or the women discovered that my father was married, they'll come and dump the children. So I was brought up with my step brother, two of them, and actually I did not know that they were not my step brothers until my mother died. After her death, they had to go back to my father's family and their mother, of which it was, I think my mother raised us quite well, that we did not have to know that one of our brothers or our brothers were not from, they were not her children. So yeah, with okay, another point is a few years ago when I was at Tux, we used to love having Pastor Tulangos speak to us as students. And he once mentioned, or a couple of times, he mentioned that in the syllabus, let me call it syllabus for premarital counseling and all that, they should involve or include the possibility of blended families, because youth are having children, the youth is having sex and all that. So we are most likely going to get married or have partners who have children. So how do we deal with that? Okay, then I started reading more on blended families and stuff. And the possibility of me in future dating or getting married to someone with kids. Then I came across Dr. Mabel's Hadeve's book called Successful Blended Families. I'll send the picture on Facebook. It's a very powerful book. I think actually all youth and those that are planning or those in blended families should read it, because it's a very complex situation. It's not easy. Sometimes maybe it's easy for other people, but it's not always easy for everyone, because one, you might find children that are very manipulative. They use the other part to get to the other one. Then you can find a manipulative woman or the wife. Then you can find as well the manipulative and toxic men or all parties being toxic. How do you deal with that? Okay, so she covers a whole lot of those things in her book. It addresses, let me just read the synopsis. It says, addresses the common challenges of blended family and provides practical tools of dealing with them effectively. Attention is given to children in these families, step parenting, preparation for remarriage, as well as the building blocks for a successful blended family. If you are in a blended family or planning to establish such a family, this book is for you. If you're okay, I think we all maybe need to read such books so that it prepares us of what to expect in case we don't choose. Maybe we can choose who we love, but our hearts, sometimes you meet someone and you don't know much and you're attracted to them and they tell you that they have kids. So how do you deal with that person's kids, and how would you feel about them, you being the new step parent? What if you didn't want kids and all of a sudden then your partner has kids? How do you raise such a person? Is it even possible to love a child as much as you love your own? I'm going to make an example with my sister. My oldest sister doesn't have children of her own. She's married to a man with 2 kids, and when she met her husband, the kids were very young. They were sweet and everything. And she has raised them, I think, for the past 15 years. And okay, not 15, the other one is 10. I think for the past 10, 12 years. So the kids have been fine and everything perfect. Then now they are teenagers. They are reminding her that she's not their mother. Where are they getting it from? We're not so sure, because they visit the parents, the mother's family and all that. So now she's at a stage where she is really exhausted, and it has put a strain in their relationship because the kids have become very toxic. They remind her all the time that you don't have children. You need to have your own children to discipline. And whenever they want things, and she says no, and it will feel like it's abuse to them. So it's very tough. You pray about it, you go for counseling, you take the kids for counseling as well, and there are other outside influences as well. So it's something that we really need to pray about, and it's to, and again, to be able to open our hearts and be open-minded about them. In case something similar, something like this happens, how would you be able to deal with it? I think as well, before maybe we go to get into marriages, we would need to go for counseling, maybe someone to counsel on this issue, the potential of these things happening. What if another child, and what if one party cheats and there is a child and you're not planning to divorce? How do you love a child that is coming outside marriage while you're married? So yeah, it's a very tough one, and I appreciate the topic. I missed most of the part, but I believe from the comments I'll be able to catch up. That's my topic. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Zaza, for being vulnerable. Thank you, everyone who's sharing their life stories, because it gives us an insight into the reality of these things and what people go through. Thank you so much for the comments. I want to give over to Brother Ashley to take us through on that one. Ashley, I'm going to unmute you right now. Go ahead, my man. Oh.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Brother Ashley. Sorry, guys, I just had to. Mtandazo referred to me as Brother Ashley. Sis Refiole, thank you so much for that presentation. And I know that there's a comment that Mtandazo passed earlier when he said that he does not intend to put you on the spot. I don't know if you'd be comfortable with me putting you on the spot, because I want to find out from you what is some of the drama that you've had to navigate through. I'm sure there is. if you are in a position to, I see she's laughing there when I say, I'm sure that and the reason why I say that I'm sure that there is, from the way that you've presented this reality of blended families, it seems to me that the dynamics are not at a level where you are still choosing. In fact, I don't even think that there's choosing at all, because I had some comments that are suggesting that you could choose that, no, this is the type that I'll settle for, this is the type that I'll settle for. But the reality is you fall in love with someone, and that someone brings people, and that person falls in love with you, and then you bring people, and those dynamics are constantly changing as children are growing. Uzaza has just told us about the drama that's happening in a sister's life. Children grow. There's external things, there are emotions, there are hormones, there's growth. So I'm just saying that I think that there might be drama. I'm not sure, but I think that there might be drama. If you could please share with us some of those specifics. Then there's a comment, Refiole, and I need to understand your point of view on this postmodern world and how young people are carrying themselves around. And again, Uzaza touched on that when she mentioned Pastor Tulankosi and his lectures on young people sleeping around, etc., etc. You said in your introduction, and I deduced something from that. You said we get heartbroken, and it's not something that you prepare yourself for. So you were in a relationship, you were in love, and you did not anticipate that you would find yourself in a situation where your heart would be broken. And let's also be very realistic. Sometimes we are the heartbreakers, and when we go into these relationships, I don't see myself as an Ashley asking this lady out with the intention to break her heart. But then once I'm in that relationship, a lot of other things happen, and then I end up breaking her heart, and then there's a child involved, and then she now needs to move on and be with somebody else. That's the reality that you faced. Broken heart comes together with another broken heart, and then you guys must now build. Can I tell you some of the experiences that I've had in this postmodern world? It is no longer heartbreak that results in blended families, but intentional planning. People are planning to be in blended families. You will not believe it. I have a friend of mine who I could say, for the lack of a better word, led a very promiscuous lifestyle. Very young lady, beautiful. Like, if you see her, Sister Refiole, muhle, yellow bone, just like you. And this lady lived a very, very promiscuous life. And then they reached a point in time where, she's now got a couple of kids. She comes to me and has a genuine conversation with me and says to me, Ash, I need your help. Can you please find me somebody, right, who is ready to settle down, who also has a child, right? Because now I'm ready to settle down. Young people are planning for those things. And I don't think that we are very much aware of the dynamics that come with these situations, the amount of prayer, the amount of dedication that you need to put in an effort to make this type of a relationship work. They think that you could just go around, sleep around, have children. You reach to a point in time in your life when you are tired, you'll just find somebody else who is tired. The two of you join together, and then you'll create this heaven on earth. And which is quite concerning, because we have so many young people, that are aiming for that. And I want to understand your point of view. You are in a blended family. It seems to be working. But is it something that you would recommend? Or maybe let me leave it there. Is it something that you would recommend to a young person who is looking to one day settle?
All right, Refiole, unfortunately on the spotlight. All right, if you want to take time to respond to that, I can read some other comments in the meantime. Along those lines. So I think it's interesting that we're having this on a church platform, things that are not really talked about in a church setting. One of the things while Esther was talking, I was like to myself, so which relationships comes first here? And I'm speaking to everyone who's in a blend, who will get into a blend, whatever. Which relationship comes first? The one that I have with my children, or the one that I have with my husband? When it comes to choosing who do I choose between those? That's a very important thing to get to run. And I'm saying this because I also have my own experience of blend, right? And that question boggles my mind every time. And I think sometimes is the one that is the one that if you come into a blend like I have in a certain way, right? If you come into a blend, you're always going to be the one that never left. You're going to be the one that gets overlooked at certain points, right? And within time saying, and she was saying to me, if the child gets naughty at school and they want parents, who gets called? Me, stepdad, or real dad? Those kind of things that we talk about. So let's have those kind of conversations here, and let's put Refiole not on the spotlight. I can protect you. Here's the parliament. You are protected, right? So if you feel uncomfortable with certain questions, just say so. Let's get the conversation happening and see how we can Christianly put this through. All right, here's you. The mic is on you.
Okay, so I think let's start with the one about the one that you read about protecting children. If you can just reread it, please.
All right, let me read.
I think it was a Facebook comment.
All right, cool. Let me just look for it quickly here. It's from Uting. She says, how do we deal with the ever-present possibility that no one can ever say they know another human being? How safe are children from their stepfathers? Question mark. How can we make it easy for all moms with daughters to open up and trust their partners to raise their daughters in these blended families? That's thinking. Can I just add on something that Uzinhle says? Maybe that will also put more context into the question. She says, Uzinhle says, I think as moms, we're generally not too trusting when it comes to our children. I had to intentionally allow my husband to parent our children his way without policing him. Of course, we believe mothers know best. I cannot imagine how hard it can be for a woman to fully allow a non-bio dad to parent her bio kids the best way he knows how, giving space to be a parent. Go ahead.
Okay, so in regards to the one of just like the human factor, I think it's something that you can't not think about as a mom, particularly if you've got girl children. But I think it's safe to say that in the world that we are living in, hey, bio parents also, they're out here raping their own children. And so I think that for me, just shifted the conversation from bio and non-bio to just, evil in the world. Evil in the world is just there, period. And so, when it comes to that, I think I didn't mention this much, but I really want to say, Uguti, trusting God, who is, the founder of the concept of love, that we find ourselves wanting to partake in and have an experience of what it means to love, or of what it means to be loved. I don't want to, I just want to be very honest with this. We need the covering of God over this entire process, over the formation of relationships, over the authenticity of connections that form, the bonding and the impact that it has when it comes to the character formation of your child. So in regards to that, I'm just saying, asiko safe inside where it's biological, outside where it's non-bio. For me, it doesn't really have a bearing, and we can't even say, looking at the context we're living in today, that the stats are higher where the children is non-bio as opposed to where the children are bio. So I think they, totally depend on the covering of the Holy Spirit, because I mean, even with you as the bio mom, you can do really horrendous things to your own bio children. So yeah, because we could say that, you know, you look out for red flags, you do due diligence on your side as the mother or the bio parent. But as you so rightfully brought forward, you know, the human factor, umuntu angeke uyamazi, you know, and that also comes to you as yourself. So that's as far as that question goes. Sorry, Mtandaze, the conversation is so broad, and some of the speakers, you know, or the comments that are shared are lengthy, and they've got a lot of content. So I might need you to just guide me as to the next question that we are moving on to because of that. Okay, well, I remember the Ashley who asked for drama. I will not be sharing drama at all. I don't think that is going to benefit us in any way to share drama, you know. Yeah, but if you've got an action, like I can address the question. So if you can just maybe share Ashley's question apart from the drama parts.
All right, thanks, Refiole. Okay, apart from the drama part, he said, would you recommend this to anyone? And can I just add further on? Someone says to me, I'm in time, she says, the older you grow, the more likely you marry into blend. If you're 25 as a woman and unmarried, looking for a guy in his 30s, probably has a kid or 2 or 3 or more, you most likely. If you're a guy not married in his 30s, late 20s, you're probably getting there. So I would advise us to get everyone here on the platform to really listen to what Refiole will say, because this is super important. You probably will get there. That's all.
Yeah. I'd like, you know, contribution from other people here. I know there are people here that are in blended situations as well. But I want to say from my end, you know, before I became a blended family, I was a single mom. And when I was experiencing the difficulties and the various dynamics that have to do with being a single parent, I remember I arrived at a place where I was like, I actually never recommended it to anyone. I would always say, listen, sort out the issues, right? Because of course it had its own issues that you experienced. One being the fact that the creation of a child involves both mother and father, and therefore also the raising of that child requires, you know, combined effort. And when you now carry that not burden, but that responsibility upon yourself, it's laborious and it's stretching, and it can sometimes have, you know, it can sometimes be just very, very difficult. But also, you know, we need to acknowledge the fact that there are situations where being a single parent is the best thing you can do for your child, because the type of setup of mother and father is so toxic that the effect it will have on the child could be more damaging than if, you know, you are alone, right? So similarly in this context as well, it's hard for me to say I recommend it or I don't recommend it, you know. I think naturally, you know, because I'm a believer in God, I want to say that into uJehova mekayihlosile ukuthi ibe a particular way, uyihlose ngenhloso, you know, like he planned it that way for a divine reason. And so, you know, I believe that we want to be in nucleus families, but should it not be good for you and your children, or just it's not working out, then I recommend always to be in a space that supports your well-being and your health, you know, your well-being, your health, and that of your children. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for that one. Right, we were still opening up the platform. We're still going through with the questions and the comments that come through. Somebody just said, "Can I ask a question, please?" By all means, you can ask questions. You can lift up your hand. Facebook family, I'm waiting on you. Please send as many comments as is possible. We'll be able to read them. Now, if it's possible, can we have people also with this who are in the situations, right, who are going through the situations? We have blended families who have had them even for years, and how they've navigated that kind of space there. And if there was drama, if they want to talk about it, then that's fine. If not, can give general advice, good advice, Christian advice on what to do in such kind of situations and all. It's the beauty of 230 conversations. We all can talk and be able to say what we think and feel. Mullah, there you go.
All right. Hi, everyone. Am I audible?
Sure, boy.
All right. Thanks for this conversation, because it's something I wish we had spoken about a long time ago in church. But most of the times we pretend as if families are perfect. We do not have blended families. What I'm realizing from our conversation is that this topic is very broad. So we've got the parents, so like the husband who is in a blended family, or the wife in a blended family. But many a times we forget the kids in those families. So I would like to share from the kids' view or point of view, because I'm coming from a blended family. Am I still audible?
Yes, you are audible. I think, Mthandazeli, if we can maybe sometimes tackle the questions as they arise so they don't pile up. Okay. So that's an interesting one there, Mullah. And I think I also want to address the undertone that blended families are a result of sexual promiscuity on the part of either the mother or the not mother, the male, the father. That is not always the case.
Sorry to cut you. I think Mullah was asking if he's audible so that he can continue. Then when he may probably understand, yeah, you can just jump into that. Sorry for that one. We can't wait to hear what you're going to say. Mullah Asia.
All right. Yeah. So I wanted to say, I was raised up in a very complex family, because from my mother's side, I've got a step-brother from my mother's side and a stepdad. Then from my father's side, I've got step-siblings and a stepmother. So just to pass a nugget on what Ashley said, it's not always promiscuity. But what I've realized is that sometimes also being brought up in a blended family usually leads one to be part of a blended family. I don't know how it happens, but that's what I've seen. Like from my own experience, my mother was brought up in a blended family, my stepmother from a blended family, my father from a blended family. So sometimes, the scars of the past can, I don't know if it's repetition of the future or if the scars of the past can lead that thing to keep on going on and on and on. Then I would like to say on the recommendation part, under normal circumstances, as a child who grew up in that situation, I wouldn't recommend it to anyone for the sake of the kids. Not for the sake of the partners, but for the sake of the kids. It's very hard. You can get as much love as one can get from a stepfather, but the fact that he's not your father will remain. Even from the stepmother, personally, I was blessed with a loving stepmother, but those signs that this person is not your mother will emerge from time to time. So I think for kids, the best environment is whereby you live with your mother and your father, your biological parents. But as our speaker was saying, we are now living in a very evil world, such that you cannot trust even your biological parents. You cannot trust anyone. We just need the protection from God. And also, I think as youth, we now need to be ready to find ourselves in a blended family, whether we like it or not, because your partner can choose to be promiscuous, or they can even hide it from you, then you discover it later that they've got another kid. But in all this, what I can say is that, can we protect the kids? If it happens, you find yourself, you're a stepmother, you're a stepfather, can we try to love the kids as much as we can? Because they did not choose to be part of that. And they will need you as a stepmother to take a mothering role. They will need you as a stepfather to take a fathering role. Even though, because kids will be kids, as she was sharing, the moment they become teenagers, there's a high chance that they will behave as normal teenagers, including telling you that you are not their mother. But even in that instance, be the mother, be the father, even if they are not your biological kids. Let's try to protect the kids. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mula. Refiole, you wanted to respond. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Got 3 more hands here. It's getting hot in here. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay, now I didn't write, so now I forgot some of the things. But I wanted to address the undertone that blendedness can sometimes results from sexual promiscuity. That's not necessarily always the case. And I think that is also somewhat a part of the problem. You know, one of the things you find yourself having to deal with is the stigma, you know, and it comes from the assumption that the situation is where it is today because there was sexual promiscuity involved. That's not always the case. That's not always the case. Yeah. And then I definitely agree with Umola, you know, but again, I still, you know, believe that it's hard to say it's recommended or not recommended, because in my instance, you know, there was blendedness in my family, and definitely there was hurting of children. But then also I've gotten married to a husband who was who also grew up in a blended family. He was raised by a stepfather and now is developing a relationship with his father, so bio father. So I can definitely, you know, relate with the effects that are there. But again, you know, with this subject, I appreciate the complexity and vastness of it, because some of the issues that we have are a result of our bio parents. Do you understand? Some of them, some healing, some character development, some nurturing is brought on heavy by the step parent, you know. So it's like the situations that we sometimes find ourselves in, you know. For me personally, I had a mentor in the past, Max Moyo, who liked saying that the situation that God allows you to be in sometimes, the family that you're raised in, is the necessary pressure cooker for you to, you know, fulfill your purpose and your destiny in life the way that you're supposed to. In other words, you know, God being all-knowing foresaw that that situation would be the way that it is, and he allowed it. And yes, of course, there is, you know, the perfect will of God, you know, and then there's the other will of God, where now things have happened in a different way. And I appreciate that as well. So, wow, this subject is really, really expanding. It's really expanding. And I think what I would like for all of us to be learning, including myself, is that it's not black and white. It definitely isn't black and white. And we cannot rely on our own wisdom and knowledge to navigate, you know, things that we come across under this subject.
All right, thank you. So it's not black and white, and I'm also happy that there's a cocktail of situations. Those that children brought up in blended families. I think now we have that perspective. Now we have people also as well who are in those blended families currently, and all that. I think some of the questions I'm hearing from the Facebook families, some were not. I think some really need to be readdressed. I think I missed Zaza's question. I'm sorry about that. also missed, I think, but his comment. Thank you, Refiole, for letting me know that. Before I give to SK, Ashley, and Sitagu, this is what Ubatsi says, and I'm just going to read what she says here. Very interesting comment that comes from her. I think it's hopefully it's a her. Sorry, guys, because we don't really see you, so we can't really tell who is who. But I appreciate our apologies on that aspect. I'm reading, and it says the following. One day, we need to discuss the shame single mothers carry for having a dramatic baby daddy, and how that makes them then disqualify themselves from deserving love from a man, especially a man that does not have children. Narratives like, I won't date a woman with kids because I don't want to deal with a baby daddy, do very little to help with this. That's about his comment right there on that one day. So let me give to SK quickly. Then we'll respond if SK has a question. Facebook family, I hear you, see you on fire. Is thanking you, Refiole, on Facebook, saying thank you so much. You've addressed some of the questions that she had. We appreciate. SK, go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Sure, boy. Just
Yeah.
maybe a bit louder. A bit louder.
Okay.
We can hear the child. Yeah.
All right. No. Well, I'm from a blended family as well, and recently there's a situation where you find we are all grown-ups and the father gets another woman, and the woman is younger than us, and we've got siblings that are younger than the woman, and whenever she talks to us, obviously she talks to us like a child to us. But when she talks to the younger siblings, younger than her, she kind of separates them. Like she loves the other one, she doesn't love the other one. She kind of gossips about the other one. Maybe, let's say, a scholar failure or something. She'll be like, no, lo, udom or something. And then these two boys, they end up fighting. And also, she's not doing very well with the sister. Now the sister is younger than her. The little sister is younger than her. Last week, they just had a physical fight. Now the question is, how do you help such a person? Because we at the same time, we would want our father to be happy with his new woman, but at the same time, we don't want his new woman to come and cause havoc and if the speaker has maybe recommendations on the therapist or something where she can go and learn how to deal with the blended family, because she also has her own babies and there's drama wherever she is, there's drama. How do you help in such a situation? Or as a big brother, how do you deal with this situation? Because the father is like, hey, this is my girlfriend, especially when she's fighting with the younger sister, you know. And I don't know, but I guess you get my point and my question. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, SK, for that one. Refiole said something, and I think that's something that we should go with the whole time. This is not a one size fits all. Every situation is pretty much different and deserves its own merit for that matter. And she's not on the spotlight. We are all on the spotlight. If someone else has advice to give along those lines, has experienced similar situations, please, by all means, let's do that. The last thing we want to be doing is to looking like we're in a too holy platform where we are not being realistic with our situations. God wants us as raw as we get. And if anyone has advice along those lines, by all means, let's just go out there and say what we need to say and advise each other in Christian terms and help each other to pull through, because it looks bigger than what we anticipated. I give it to you. This has gone way more than what we thought it would go to. So you can go ahead if you have something to say. Otherwise, I want to give it to Ashley and Sitagu. If you want to say something, please. If you don't, I can move on to the next thing. All right, good. Let me move on. Ash, I think you want to redeem yourself. The fire on your back, my bro. Yeah.
Yeah, boy, I'm not really redeeming myself. There's no redemption needed. Sister Refiole, I just want to appreciate how, you know, you've been impartial in your approach to this conversation. You know, you do not come out.
No, Ashley disappeared. No, it's not. It's not. We're still here. It's Ash. I think he muted himself. I'm unmuting him.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, the devil's a liar.
What was the last thing you say? You heard?
You just want
impartial.
Yeah. I think you've been very impartial in your approach. You didn't come here and say, I'm in a blended family, I'm going to preach. Everybody must, you know, get into a blended family. Because it's a tricky one. It's a very, very difficult one. It's not a one size fits all. And I see comments as well that are coming in, like my friend was commenting earlier when he said that at the end of the day, it's not your father. It's the end of the day, it's not your mother. The world is evil. Let's be honest, guys. We have people here who would be better off with stepmothers and stepfathers than with their biological mothers and their biological fathers. On the same token, we've got people who would have been better off with their biological parents as opposed to being, with step parents. And just listening to the comments that are coming in here, if there's one thing that I'm taking away from this, is that it's very, very important to pray, and be very cognizant of what you're going to put yourself in. If you are a young person, the possibilities that are at your disposal, one, you could actually find a person of the opposite sex that also does not have any children, and you guys will have something working out very well. But for that to happen, you still need to be very, very prayerful, because it seems to me, listening to the comments here, that the world is against us. The world is very, very much against the coming together of beings. If you are a young person who has found themselves in a position where you now have a child, whether you're a male or you are a female, you need to think very, very hard before you just go in and jump into a relationship with someone that is in a similar position. Don't just do it for the sake of settling down. Read, consult, speak to people like Sister Refiole, get as much information as you possibly can, and above all, pray. I think that when we are approaching these things of the heart, we have parked prayer, and this is one of the things I think where prayer is most needed, because there is no telling what will happen tomorrow. These children today will be young and everything is fine. Tomorrow they grow up with teenagers, to become teenagers, and they become the exact opposite of what you had anticipated. So it's very, very important that you ask uNkulunkulu to guide you at all points in time. And let's not be averse. I mean, I've seen a lot of happy blended families. We've got one here now, even though Sister Refiole did not go into the drama. In her response, I could tell that no, there are definitely challenges. She's not saying that it's a perfect thing. There are challenges. You must navigate through those challenges, prayerfully navigate through them. I think that there are things that are bigger than those challenges. There is more, that can be worked on, that brings happiness, as opposed to those little challenges that can divide. And then one last thing that I want to say, Brother Mtandas, when this from a little experience and practice, is let's try, if you find yourself in a blended family and you do not know how you should behave, I think that the best interest of the children should always be paramount in every decision that you make. And I'm not saying the best interest of your children. I'm saying the best interest of the children. We live in a constitutional dispensation that is aimed at protecting children. We've got legislative framework that is aimed at protecting children. You need to operate at that high level. See yourself as an independent third party, as an adjudicator of some sort, and then say whether it's my child or it's not my child. In this situation that we are faced with, what is in the best interest of their child? Do not be selfish. Yes, we know you are also in love. You also, want to ascertain yourself as somebody that is femme, etc., etc. But let us not destroy children in the process. There are a lot of children that have been wounded. There are a lot of children that will grow up as being monsters because their parents decided to be selfish. There are times when words may even be spoken to you by those children that you are loving so much. And nature might dictate, that you react in a negative way to that. Be bigger than that. I think you need to always be bigger than that. And you need uNkulunkulu to assist you to be bigger than that, so that, you operate at a level where you say, I understand where this child is coming from. And one day, uzokula, they will see things differently. But for now, I am not going to operate at their level. I am going to act in their best interest. And I think that should become the test of everything that is put before you respond. What is in the best interest of this child? Then above all, be happy, nomuntu wako, guys. Be happy. Have fun, nomuntu wako. Mthande, hug each other and love each other. I think when you do all of these things, the rest will begin to flow. And I'm hoping that, hey, Nami, one day, these things that I'm saying, if ever I'm in that situation, I'll be able to put them into practice, because it's easier said than done. Gabon.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Brother Ashley, for that one. Sister Refiole, guys, the titles that we're giving each other, Sister Refiole, Brother Ashley, I know, man. If you want to respond to that, you can go ahead. We're gliding towards the end of our lesson, but there's so much heat on the platform here, hey? So much heat in the platform, Refiole. It's crazy. I don't know if you want to respond. If not, I can give to Usitagu. She's got a hand up, and I read a couple of comments. Facebook, there's one. Facebook has got a comment, a serious one right there. And I also want to read that comment as well on Facebook. If you want to respond now, I can give you the opportunity, or you allow me to move on. Okay, thanks. I can see that. Okay, right. Here's what Kugutwayo says. Sitagu, you're coming through. Don't worry, I got your back. Here's what Kugutwayo says. Divine Ungumalo. Thank you for this conversation. Circumstances can be quite diverse in these situations, but I believe it is important to first win your child's confidence when, as the biological parent. Otherwise, you might find yourself placing unrealistic expectations to your child to have confidence in a stranger when you don't have a proper functional relationship with them. Once you have a good relationship with your child, they are more likely to have confidence in the person that you've brought in his or her life. Also, as the biological parent, you need to play your part in teaching your child manners and respect before getting into these situations, as it could potentially reduce or possibly eliminate those uncomfortable situations where you get caught between your child and your new partner. Hallelujah. Lastly, people that have kids should stop putting unrealistic expectations to those who come into their lives without any. Hallelujah. The uncomfortable fact is they were not there when you had the child, and whatever circumstances that resulted in you being in that situation. As the speaker said, we need God's guidance to navigate these situations. Otherwise, ngeke kulunge. And I like this because Divine is a father. Is a single father with a handsome young son, raising his son very well. So he is qualified to say the things that he said right now, with all due respect. Thank you so much, Divine, for that one. Sabisen comes in poetically here and says here, just one quick comment on what you read in Ta. Is she saying, and I think this was a comment that I read from Upati, is she saying that men can't decide that they don't want a lady with kids? I think that was when Upati was saying, women with kids should not downgrade themselves to think that they're not lovable, and especially amongst those men who say they don't want ladies with kids along those lines. Why not? Tabiseng says, women are always choosing. I can choose that I don't want a broke man, but a man can't choose that he doesn't a lady with kids. No ways, right? It says, choose what you want. Stay away from women with kids if you don't want. It's that simple. No one must be made to feel guilty for what they want and what they choose. All right, fire. Let's have Sitagu and Mula. I think we're gliding towards the end. What a lesson we're having today. Blended families. Sitagu, take us through.
Thank you. Just a quick comment stroke question. in the past, when women were getting married, when they've got kids already, those kids were left behind with their mothers or with their families, and then they go and join the new husband. I like to believe it was meant for the good of the child, so that the two who are getting married will enjoy their new marriage life. Ma'am Refiole, do you think that can be another solution for the sake of the kids, that they don't find themselves in an uncomfortable situation, maybe, or it's no longer applicable now because of times changes? I don't know. Just came to my thought. By the way, before I go, I've got somebody who wants to say something also. Please bear with me.
Go ahead, Takalani. I think that's Takalani right there. Thank you so much for always supporting 230, always being there. Love it. Somebody wants to say it through? Go ahead, somebody.
Mrs. Takalani.
Mrs. Takalani, Mwanos mother.
Mrs. Takalani, yes, please.
Mwanos mother.
Yes, Mwanos mother. Yes, please, yes. Go ahead, ma.
I've got a comment, and I also have to share a very beautiful story about blended families. But the problem, mostly, the family to the kids, I think they are the ones who are very much poisonous to these kids. If you are staying with, if I'm married, I found that my kid has got a husband. The moment these kids grow, they go and visit maybe their mother's family. When they come, that's when they come with these negative things, this attitude. I think the family is the problem here. The other thing that I wanted to comment on is I've got a sister. She's far older than me. I think this lady deserves a cup. She got married to a husband who lost a wife with 2 kids. And then she had 2 kids with the husband. Then the husband passed away. She found another husband. She moved into this family with the 4 kids. And the husband that she got married to also had 2 kids. So it means they had 6 kids already. And then she had 1 with the husband. I remember the time when I was still working at the FNB, I used to help her a lot with the investment. And every month when she comes, because she was still getting the money, the pension money from the previous husband, she will say, no, I don't want to touch this money. I've got 6 kids that needs to go to varsity. And all of these six kids, they want to vets, all of them. So I think this thing, if you invite God into it, and then you also tell these kids, Ori, you know what, you mustn't allow negative things to come into our family. And some families you'll find, Ori, they are so good. I remember there is a guy that I attended a church with. He was raised by the stepmom. Every time when he goes home, he buys grocery, two separate groceries, but for the stepmom, it's more grocery than his own man. And one time I remember I asked him, why are you doing this to your mom? And then she said, Shiriro, I am here because of my stepmom. So there are many people who are very much good in this thing of blended families. And I believe it's not for everyone. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Oh,
you
thank you.
You're just anchor next time, because you say thank you so much. That sounds like an anchor's word. Take it through, Refiole. Take it through.
I just wanted to respond to the first comment or the question about, when you get married, children would then remain at home. So I know about that as well. And it was definitely my stance that I would never, ever separate from my children, ever. It happened briefly with my older sister, and it just created so much damage, so much damage, because I think, and this is also in respect to parents, whether male or female, who are parenting by themselves, and then the other child never gets to know the bio parent or just their parent. I think the damaging thing there is that your mind always imagines that where they are is better than where you are. That's one of the things that I have perceived. And because, you know, it's a family that's forming, your mother is there with another person who is supposed to be your parent and another child, then you can't help but ask yourself, why am I not there? And that if, you know, the child is not there and being engaged and participating in the daily activities of the family, they then engage in a dialogue by themselves, which also is just dangerous because the dialogue is always meant to be your voice and the voice of another person. But in the absence of that person being present, then, you know, you then fill up answers in your head. So I don't encourage that the child should stay at home, because I think my other thing is that as a parent, it is your responsibility fully to raise the child that you have brought into this world. Even if sometimes, as is the case, you know, that means more financial responsibility and it's more difficult. But still, you know, I believe that you can rise up to that. You can rise up and still, you know, be supported with resources when you ask God to be able to take care of your children in every way that children need to be taken care of. So I don't personally encourage that ingane should be separated from the parents. I think that children should be with their parents, whatever decisions that you're making as well. And I think the other point you had raised, Mta, was, you know, who comes first, you know, the children or the partner, you know. And I think, you know, I recognize our generation's extremism culture. You know, it's like even the question of who comes first, like it suggests that there needs to be a second. Hey, that's very difficult for me. Like, it's possible to like a BMW and also like a Beamer. Like, it's really, really possible, a Mercedes. It's really, really possible to be an Android person and to be an iPhone person. So for me, you know, really, I think we need to be mindful of the society's voice and the voice of God, the voice of truth. It's important, you know, to have awareness when it comes to tackling actually any situation. And now, because we're talking about this, it's important for us to see certain things for what they are. Gogunye, you are bringing it upon yourself by even asking that question in that way. You know, this is it's a love situation, and yes, I want us to be practical, but some of, you know, the questions that you address in your mind can create some sort of a predicament for yourself. I don't ever want to think, if I have to choose between my children and my husband, what's going to happen? You know, who am I going to choose? My husband prayed for me. I prayed to be married, and I believe that God has brought us here, and that us coming together, I have a responsibility towards his salvation. He has a responsibility towards my salvation, and together we have the responsibility to for the salvation of our children. So we work together, governed by the love and the principles of God, to raise a family that is successful, children that love each other, and a marriage that works out. So I would encourage that, you know, we just, pay attention to some of the languaging of the dynamics around this subject. Yes, Mula.
All right, thank you. I'm gonna unmute Mula now. I think Mula probably will be the last
You're
one.
unmute. Okay.
Oh, yes. Yeah, go ahead. I love how you've just blended into the anchoring role right here, right? Unmuting and muting. Mula, that's all.
All right. Hey, interesting conversation and powerful comments. I want to concur with what Brother Ashley said, that we need to pray. And I think this is more of a love issue. When we've got love that actually stems from the love of God, when that love is imparted into us, it will be easy to even love kids which are not your biological kids. It will be easy to love, because this thing is about love, and it depends where that love emanates from. I think the problem we have is that we are Christians, but we are not in touch with God so much, such that God has imparted his love unto us. So our love is a bit selfish. I'll tell you, there is a comment that said the biological parents need to play a big role, and I would like to concur with that, to say, if I'm the mother and then I separate with the father of my kid, and then he marries someone, I mustn't speak ill of the stepmother. That also brings a complication and drama. Actually, I mean, I'm glad my mom is the one who taught me, because she never spoke ill of my stepmother, and it was easy to see my stepmother as my other mother, you see. Then also, lastly, I would like to say mothers play a big part in this thing. I don't want to put too much responsibility on them, but I'll say mothers play a big part from my personal experience. So my stepmother is the one who looked for me. She knew that my father had a kid from outside. Then my father was doing nothing to look for me. She's the one who actually looked for me and brought me into the family, into my father's family. And what she did is that whenever her kids were in a boarding school, whenever she's going to visit them, she would tell me in advance, Tammy, we are going to visit your brother or your sister on that day. Avail yourself. So that fostered a relationship between me and my step-sibling, to a point that now, when they write exams, they get reports, she'll send me the reports. Look at how your siblings are doing at school. She made sure that whatever happens, she would invite me, to a point that, as I told you, I've got a step-brother from my mother's side. I'm now even closer to my stepmother's children more than my mother's child, because of how she did it. So I think mothers play a big role, and that thing, I think it becomes easy when we draw that love from God, and then we also share it to our stepchildren, even to our partners. Thank you very much.
All right, beautiful. Thank you so much for that one. Refiole, just get ready to give us your parting shots. I'm going to give over to, and I think NY, I'm sorry, because you're having trouble with your device there. I'm going to give you an opportunity to say something. The title of the book that Uzaza has recommended, she just sent it to me on WhatsApp now. She sent it to me on WhatsApp a bit while ago. I just want to read it. It says the following. It's Dr. Mabel Khatebe, Promoting Great Step Families, Successful Blended Families. I'm going to write it. I'm going to type it also as well. The full name of the author as well as the title, but I'm going to say it again with Dr. Mabel Khatebe, Promoting Great Step Families, Successful Blended Families. That's the title of the book right there. NY, I'm going to give you an opportunity. Thank you, Mula, for that one. We need to love one another. I think love covers a multitude of problems, a multitude. So says our Bible. NY, up next. NYU.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so thank you so much for.
I'm trying to. I've unmuted NY, and I wanted to say something. To say something, and I'm not getting through. NY, you are unmuted. It shows me that you have say something. Say something. Okay, let me try and help. In the meantime, we're gliding to the end of our lesson. There's a comment there. NY. Ashley, let me make you co-host. Help me with ensuring that NY connects to e-audio, yeah, okay? Because I think he or she has been asking for a while. I'm making you co-host, boy, so that you can help. While I read the comment from Facebook. Here's what Uwame says on Facebook right here. She says, I am of the view that individuals should have honest conversations with themselves about what they can or cannot handle. Forcing things will only breed toxicity. Blended families are a reality that the church needs to be alive to, and it is not for everyone. Thank you for an eye-opening and relevant discussion. Thank you so much for that comment right there. Brutal honesty. Ash, try to help me out with NY. NY, we're trying our best. We've been asking for a while now. Just want to make sure that you say something. You're already unmuted on my side, but I'm unable to hear. We are unable to hear anything. Worst case scenario, if we can't continue with you on talking, can you type what you wanted to say? NY, let me try mute you again. Ash, help me out, please. Ash, let me try mute you and unmute you as well. Boy, are you winning? Ash, unmute yourself and say something. I want to give NY. I just feel like she's been on wanting to say something for a while now. I don't think we're winning with NY. NY is gone off the platform now. Refiole, we tried. Go ahead, give us your parting.
I just want to say thank you so much for this platform, and thank you to the audience that has been very active and engaging as well in sharing their thoughts and their opinions. My parting words would be that I honestly believe that what is impossible with man is very much possible with God. We face different situations that have different levels of difficulty, and this is definitely not an exception to that. However, that said, it's very possible with all the dynamics that are there to build a successful, happy blended family. So yes, I think also, let's read, Nje. Let's read and let's pray, wanting to navigate situations that we find ourselves in with our own knowledge is not setting us up to pass. It's not going to set us up. Have a counsel of the wise that surrounds you, that you can refer to, that is in a similar situation. I think that goes without saying. In everything that you aspire towards, be it your personal ambitions when it comes to your career, to rub shoulders with people that are already at places that you aspire towards gives you added knowledge. It gives you wisdom to be able to apply to get yourself out of certain situations, or how to handle things that are outside of your scope of knowledge. So I really think, let's talk about it more. Let's remove the shame. And I think I saw a Facebook comment about, parents being wise in saying that our children, the children should stay home while you're figuring out. And I think I concur with that comment, in that if it's for a time for you to settle down and figure out, 100%. But I think my disagreement comes from the fact that our parents didn't talk much, and some of the things were from shame. And I don't agree with, hiding stuff. I don't agree with dealing things from, this is very, it's a very shameful situation, or whatever the case, so ingane aisale. So from that context, I'm in complete disagreement. But for you being given time to figure out, njengoba ashilo, the comments to say, nawe awaz lawe yakhona, definitely, the couple can benefit from finding their feet, establishing certain things, but really not for a long time. So I hope this was beneficial to everybody. Thank you. I appreciated the comments that you made as well. And to you, 230 Conversations, please do continue with these subjects and getting us to engage at this level. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And thank you to your husband who also allowed you. I'm sounding like a patriarch. Like, thank you to your husband, who's a nice person who allowed you to share your story, and your children as well, who are lovely people that you have been blessed with. It would have been nice to see the family, your children particularly, maybe. It would have been really nice to have them. Most of the times when speakers speak about such personal things, they also bring their children, say hi and bye to all that. But thank you. We really appreciate. We hope you'll come through again next time on maybe a different topic altogether, something personal that you probably will be experiencing, how God has been good to you and what you've learned. Thank you, family, for also attending the conversation that we have. Remember, this month is all about women. It's Women in the World. That's the title of the month of March. So next week, interesting topic next week. The topic for next week is Side Chicks, the Rise of the Other Woman. That's what we're going to be talking about here next week. Side Chicks, the Rise of the Other, the reality of things. I think in our church, we have an international audience, people from America and I think UK. Side chicks in South Africa are the mistresses of America and the mistresses of the UK and other countries that we may have. So side chicks is probably more of a pretty much a South African term, but mistress would do well in the other context of the other countries. So side chicks, the rise of the other woman. That's what we're going to be talking about. Then the other week with Sister Grinashe, we're ending the month of March with the topic, the alpha female modernism. The alpha female modernism. Sister Grinashe will be taking us through on that one. Now, interestingly, the month of April, just want to make sure that whet your appetite on this one. The month of April is all about religion amongst us, politics and religion. So we are praying hard to get the presidents of the conferences, the world leaders everywhere, and we are looking like we're winning. We're looking like we're winning. So the people that lead our churches there will probably come through. I don't know if we could get Ted Wilson, but we may be lucky. We're trying our best to get the president of the Conference of the Seventh-day Adventists, our presidents here in our local conferences, the big pastors that we have to speak about politics and religion, racism and religion, religion and the LGBTIQA plus community, all these kind of things coming up in April. So get ready to see the posters that are going to be coming up maybe in the next 2 weeks or so that we can be able to hear that. Just as a parting shot here, I want to do justice to Ubongani, who sent a comment here. The problem with our generation on Facebook is knowing more than we can handle. Honestly, I think some of the things ezazenziwa, like who share the kids behind with their mom's family was an informed decision, and later they fetched them once settled. Remember, you're going to a new family. You have no idea what is happening. You need to adjust then you can bring a child later. That's Mongani's comment there. Thank you so much for all the comments that have come through. And I think one thing, and this goes to the 230 Conversations team as well. Untitled says, thank you organizers for the lesson and the presenter for sharing. Because I think Sister Refiole represented the one cocktail part of the blended families. And Untitled says, this has been an interesting perspective. Amen. I feel that would need to have another lesson, but maybe from someone entering without kids. For example, how they relate to their partners, kids, and parents, how they deal with conflicts that involve kids and even finances. Is it a must for him to buy a car for a child that's not his? If his wife calls the bio father for Christmas clothes money, is allowed to have holy jealousy? That's a new term, right? We need to do this again. Thank you so much. 230 Conversations there. Then NY says, I'm having connection problems. This is what I wanted to say. I just found myself in a blended family and I'm struggling with adjusting to the new way of living. I now have a stepmom and a stepbrother, and I'm okay with my brother. How do I adjust to having a stepmom and building a relationship with her to avoid being the problem child? Can I say that after 2:30, after this conversation, we have what is called the after scenes. Refiole, you're not mandated to stay at all, right? We call the after scenes or after tears, for lack of a better word. This is the time when we discuss further, maybe another 10, 15 minutes of this particular conversation in line with that. To the Facebook family, if you want to join the after tears, I'm going to send the link now as I speak onto our Facebook page there, the Zoom link, and you can join through. We are eternally grateful to speakers like Sister Refiole who become vulnerable on this platform, and also grateful to everyone for being honest and respectful while we go through these particular things. Not easy, but very doable. Thank you. May God bless you. May God keep you. Thank you to the team of Today Conversations. We'll need to pray now. We need to ask God to bless our families, contextually, whether they are blended or not. All of us at the crux of anything, at the foundation, we need Jesus now more than ever, blended or unblended. For the sustenance of our relationship with our family members, with our children, with our spouses, Jesus must be the main actor and the binding glue in all of this. So we'll ask God for that. And Sister Refiole, if you can pray for us, take us to the throne of grace, take us to Jesus, make him, aware of our situations and pray that he comes in our lives the best way possible. We're going to pray now.
We thank you, King of Glory, Lord of Lords, Jehovah, that you have still borrowed us breath. We thank you that you have sustained our lives. We thank you that our destinies are in your hands. And we thank you that in every situation that we find ourselves in, you are still a God that is at hand, a God that is relevant, a God that is all-seeing, all-knowing, and able above and beyond what we can expect to deliver and, help us navigate situations that we find ourselves in. We thank you for the comfort that we find in the word that anything and everything that we find ourselves in, we were definitely not the first, and that we can derive wisdom from your word that's going to help us in our situations. Jehovah, as we part from the conversation that we had, I pray that the lessons that we have learned may better our lives. I also pray that you bless us in the area of our careers, in the area of our relationships, in the area of our friendships. I pray that you bless our endeavors. I pray that you bless our aspirations, and that you forgive us for our transgressions. Bless the week ahead. In Jesus' name we pray these things. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate on that one. Okay, family, I'm going to stop the live stream on Facebook. This particular conversation will be available on our YouTube channel, 230 Conversations SDA. That's the name, 200. Mark that one. 230 Conversations SDA. No need for you to watch Home with the Wife. Nothing of that note. Just go straight into YouTube and check our YouTube channel. Home with the Wife is corrupting the whole of South Africa. We're not okay. Please go and watch things to do with church, things to do with Jesus, that have to do with 230 Conversations. Let's go out there and have lots of fun. God bless you guys. Are wonderful people as always. I'm going to stop the live stream on Facebook. Then I'm going to unmute everyone. You can say hi, bye. I tell you, people have found relationships by staying on this platform. Sometimes you are single because you leave too early. Those kind of things. Come in, find yourself a family, a friend. You never know these things. Stopping the live stream now, Refiole. Thank you.